Hello and welcome everyone back to another episode of
Not Fighting.
I'm Tyler Bishop and today we checked the sound.
Yeah, because I can't trust him anymore.
And that's Jena Bishop, who's always telling me to check the sound. Mm-hmm. We had a streak going where we had our sophisticated audio set up here figured out, and then we had like 4 episodes in a row where we were like 1 for 4. So sorry everybody.
Yep. That's on you, babe. That's on you.
Yep, it is on me. I'm doing the best what I can, the best I can with what I've got. And
Blythe.
What is that supposed to mean?
You could have just checked the sound properly instead of just like going off of like, I don't know, I think it looks good.
Yeah, I mean, after a certain portion.
Because we got good stuff.
What is it that I always say about jiu-jitsu? Once you know the rules, you can break the rules.
No. That's not how it works.
That's not how audio works. But yeah, the best I've got thing, I think, stems from me feeling like I grew up in rural Missouri where it was like math was optional. And we were talking about this actually when we were walking the dogs today. But like
math is optional.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, I know because you didn't learn math until college.
We had like one math class that was like, I don't know.
You would come in to ask questions and your teacher would just give you the answers.
That's true. I did. I'd be like, hey, I'm really having trouble with number 7. And then he almost looked at me like I was stupid. And he was like, you know, the answers are in the back of the book. And I'm like, I do know that. Like, I know how the math book works. And then he like showed me as if that was like him being a good teacher. It was like, see where the answers are in the back. It's like, yeah, I know. Like,
it doesn't tell you how to show your work.
Nope. Shout out to Mr. Sipple. And however he's doing these days. He's a friendly guy. Anyways, but my point to this was like we were walking the dogs and I was talking about like movies that would come out on VHS and you looked at me like I was crazy and then I realized, oh, that's just some how I grew up things.
Also, I didn't watch a lot of movies when I was young.
Yeah, it's true.
So, I might not be hip to whatever's going on.
Well, I was just saying like whenever like Jurassic Park or something like that would come out on VHS at the same time at the rental store, there would usually be something like Prehistoric Park that's like a like a Sharknado-y type version of said movie that like tricks people that are too stupid to realize like the movie that you're thinking of is Jurassic Park. It's out in theaters. It wouldn't be at the Montgomery rental facility right now.
Yeah, I still don't think that was a thing that happened at like Blockbuster.
No, we didn't have Blockbuster. We had Family Video. No, we didn't even have a Family Video.
It was just a local movie rental place.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Probably owned by like somebody in the town.
I think it was called the Movie Rental Place, maybe.
Because creativity.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great Google business name. I mean, these days, that's pretty innovative. It's like naming your pizza place, best pizza place near me. Search engine optimized right out of the box. Somebody in Encinitas did that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called the best pizza near me or something. It's something like that. Like,
I know that there's a Best Pizza.
It's best. I think it's called Best Pizza in Encinitas, actually. So if you're in Encinitas, California, I mean, you could give it a shot. I can't vouch for it, and haven't heard many others.
We haven't been there.
Haven't heard many others bring it up, so at your own risk, I suppose. But yeah, this has been. I mean, I guess we can call out the fact that if you can't tell just by listening, you've had a bit of a cold.
I am a little bit under the weather at the moment. Not feeling my best, not sounding my best, and not looking my best.
Yeah, but you know what's nice is most of our, I guess, audience, they're listening to this on audio, not watching the video. So yeah,
thank God.
But this episode will be on YouTube, so if you're like, I want to see Jena Bishop
might be
look bad,
as audio only.
And so for all the haters out there, check out our YouTube channel.
People see me looking bad all the time because most of the time I'm in training and I'll be looking rough.
Well, you know what's funny to me is like whenever we do like go out, sometimes with jiu-jitsu people, one thing always sticks out in my mind. It was an older black belt, you know who I'm talking about. But we went to dinner one night and you showed up and he goes, "Wow, Jena, you look beautiful." And you had like a nice dress on and stuff like that. But like it was the first time I realized then, like, oh, it's his first time ever seeing you not basically in a jiu-jitsu gi all sweaty. Yeah. And he was like very genuine, but he was almost
sweet. But I was just like, man, do I look that bad? Normally that like this is like so shocking.
Yeah. And it's one of those things too where it's like I don't necessarily notice that, but I do realize it sometimes whenever you and I like do something or a part of something where it's like we're not in a jiu-jitsu event, like we're just dressed in like casual or business casual clothing. I don't know. But we'll be out someplace and I'll just see the way that people react whenever they see you, and it's like, yeah, she hot. She ain't always sweaty, but it's like I see you as you, but I know that like
she ain't always sweaty.
she ain't always sweaty.
But most of the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's weird because that is definitely a difference between male and female like martial arts. I feel like women, like whenever they're competing or whatever, it's like there's probably some weird perverts out there that would disagree with me, but I think most men and women would objectively agree it's like not when women look their most attractive.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But men, however, it's like you get done with a match or like sweaty, like whatever. It's like I don't know that a woman would say like that's the most unattractive he could possibly look or something like that.
The way that you did that is like, is that how you think that's your response?
No.
Like
I'm like trying to make it over.
The disgust that you had in your face.
I'm trying to make sure that people know that I'm not being like sexist here. I'm just saying like objectively, I think men and women, there's a different like standard to where it's like men when they're sweaty doing jiu-jitsu and women when they're sweating doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, because I think that women are taught that like a man working hard is like hot. So like them being sweaty and like all like whatever after like training.
Ooh, he's got big muscles. I bet those muscles are gonna get bigger now.
And they're always bigger when you have like the pump,
Yeah.
So you're flexed, looking your best. Maybe that's when guys look their best.
I remember going into this was actually at Worlds, but it was a blue belt. I was doing the commentary and I walked back, and the only place you go to the bathroom is like in this gym that's up there, and there was a blue belt in there, and he was like doing curls. And then he would stop doing the curls and he'd jump down immediately and start doing push-ups, and I realized like he's getting a pump. He's like trying to get a pump for like I guess.
That was his warm-up.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
It was pretty funny. I just
Did you
remember
say anything?
Like, no, I was like in a hurry. I had to pee.
Did he bring weights with him to the gym?
No. There was a gym up there, and they had like barbells. He wasn't supposed to be up there.
Okay, now I know what you're talking about. I forgot.
And he hadn't been up there long.
That was just for like black belts and referees.
Yeah, it was mainly just for the referees.
Yeah. And
I just remember like as I was walking by on the way back, like somebody was like telling me couldn't be up there, like getting a pump on. Like that's kind of when I realized.
Because that's what they do in bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you do that for a jiu-jitsu match?
Yeah, why not?
Makes sense. I love it.
It's the perfect warm-up. But, like something else that like stuck out to me this week that's kind of a big difference, in my opinion, between male and female, like combat sports, jiu-jitsu, MMA, wrestling, like whatever, is weight cutting.
Yeah.
We happened to see a fight in the UFC where there's like a huge weight discrepancy because one of the girls like stepped in on late notice, whatever, and
went up a weight class.
Yeah.
Doing so.
Oh yeah, went up a weight class too. That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm interested in kind of your thoughts on this. I have my own, but
my thoughts as far as what the difference.
Yeah, like, do you think that it's different for, I guess just start at the act.
I mean, just, like, for you and I mean, we've talked about this before, but, like, cutting weight, like, you would sweat for, like, 20 minutes and, like, lose, like, almost 10 pounds. I would sweat for 20 minutes and lose, like, 2 pounds. And, like, it's just very different on how our bodies respond and the amount of weight that you can cut. I think a lot of guys, they'll be like, oh, you got 10 pounds. Oh, you just could do like, a couple hours in the sauna and you're good. You're good to go. Yep. And I'm like, no, I mean, by a couple, do you mean like 5? Because I think that's probably more likely like between sauna and doing a bath. But like for a guy, like, that's like nothing. I think most of the time. And it's like a percentage thing too. Or like, most of the time guys are bigger, like, and you're cutting like your body percentage is like you have more water to lose.
4% of weight for somebody who's 200 pounds is twice as much as somebody who's 100 pounds. So the amount, like you mentioned earlier, like, oh, you just lose 10 pounds or whatever. It's like different as you go down, but I still feel like it's different more so than just the weight itself. Like you said, like I'll never forget like being in Abu Dhabi one time and knowing that I had to make like 154 pounds or something like that with the gi, but it was a weight that I hadn't made in a minute. And I just remember like leaving the United States at 170 pounds and knowing that like I'm going to get there and basically have very little time to make this weight. And I just remember like sitting in the bath and then like, you know, cutting weight hard. It wasn't fun, I'm sure, but it wasn't hard either. And I was like, bam, I'm down. You know, like every time I checked, I was like 6 or 7 more pounds. And you had far less weight to cut, a less brutal weight cut.
4 pounds.
And in the time, we were doing the same things. And in the same period of time, you know, I'd lose like 7, 8 pounds and you'd lose like 1.5 pounds. And I just remember feeling like she's mad at me about it.
Because I was. And it's not mad, but like angry in the moment because I'm thirsty, tired, and hungry.
Yeah. And that's the thing now is like,
chilling.
a lot of times I'll talk to a guy that's dating a girl that's like cutting weight, or just like one of your students or somebody that you train with, and they'll be talking about like potentially making another weight, or you know they'll say like, oh, you know, the promoters want me to make 115 or something like that. And I, knowing that, it's like somebody will be like, well, you know, they said I could probably make this weight, like no problem or whatever. And it's like, no, that's 14 pounds for you. Like that's different. I know what they're thinking.
Yeah.
If you were a 125 pound or 115 pound dude or something like that, or could cut to that weight as a dude, 14 pounds isn't as big of a deal. But for a female, it's a much bigger deal. And you would think it's not the case because you got like aren't boobs water? Isn't that how that works?
No, it's fat, which holds more water. And it's harder to lose water from fat than it is from muscle.
That's why some girls, when they weigh in, their butts are like
deflated.
Yeah, it looks like somebody stuck a needle in and pulled the butt out. You know who I'm talking about.
Why are you checking out girls' butts when they weigh in?
I'm just hating. I'm hating on your behalf.
I've trained you so well, you know, just to like be judgy of other women.
Nah, that's a C- at best, girl. Get out of here. Go rehydrate.
I'm sorry.
But I think too, like the question that I often ask, and I honestly don't know if I have a good answer to this. Maybe you can help influence my opinion. It's that, like, you know, there's a clear advantage in a lot of instances. I think they did a study of everybody that didn't make weight in 2019, and they were like 19-2 in the UFC versus those that like made the weight or whatever. And I think that there's a clear advantage when you are bigger than your opponent. Like, even if it's fair, like you cut weight, like one person cuts 30 pounds, the other one cuts 5.
Yeah.
But is that advantage the same for men and women?
I think so. I don't think being bigger, I think, is definitely better. I would argue, though, that no. I'm thinking in my head, and I'm like, no.
I have one argument that might be wrong.
I don't have that argument.
So my argument is that, and this is partially like a weight class thing too, so I could be wrong about this because I don't know, like, if I have the same opinion. If you look at like men's like rooster weight and bantam weight and stuff like that too. But for men, specifically thinking like 170 and above, if a dude comes in, he cuts a lot more weight than the next guy, and he comes in like as a bigger opponent, to me he's more dangerous than like because of the power element.
But I would think it would be the same for women.
That's where I'm wondering if that's like, a weight class thing.
If you're bigger, you're most likely going to be able to punch harder, like,
or at least have more weight,
or have because you have your body weight behind that, like, so you could theoretically generate more power. So I think but I don't think that's always the case, because I don't think that and maybe it's a technique thing that's just behind, or like the women just don't, like, some women just punch a lot harder. But at this time, the guys too, because you hear that all the time. It's like, this dude hits hard, his hands are heavy, like, and it's across all weight classes, but it's always for that weight class.
Yeah.
And arguably, most of the time, those guys are big for the weight class.
Yeah, usually. And it's not necessarily a guy that's strong. Like, I remember this leading up to when Paulo Costa fought.
Izzy?
Yeah. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, he's a knockout artist. He's not. He doesn't have power. Like, when he TKOs people. But, like,
That's
he's not a
different.
one-punch knockout guy. On the other hand, like, Izzy's not necessarily like a one-punch knockout guy, but he's knocked guys out with one strike before. And he doesn't, like, he's, shredded, but he's not, like, Paulo Costa bodybuilder style, you know?
Yeah. Like, looking big versus being. But that's the thing is, like, guys like Izzy, where it's, like, he doesn't look as big as he is. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody says when you see him in person, like, and, like, feel him, like, he's a lot bigger than people realize because he's so tall, long, and lean. But, like, there's, like, I think sometimes people don't understand, like, the density of, like, that kind of mass.
Yeah.
You know? Like, JJ, he looks so skinny and, like just lean all the time. But, like, probably one of the strongest, like, guys, especially for his size, that I've ever, like, felt.
Yeah, for sure. What's JJ's nickname?
The Maori Kid.
The Maori Kid. Check him out. He's like one of the top-rated Bellator guys, but
JJ Wilson.
JJ Wilson, and he's a beast. But he's exactly what you're describing here, where it's like he looks like kind of like a long, wiry type guy, but he's so dense.
Like he's always going to be heavier than you think he looks.
Yeah, his bones are heavy. It's like they're made out of concrete, but he's so strong for somebody like his size, unless, like, you're planning to fight him for the Bellator title, in which case he's weaker than he looks. But no, like, I do think that, technique, obviously, and then also, like, some of those traits that are non, like, aesthetically obvious.
Yeah.
Those things, I think, are universal, men and women. Like, you could say, this guy's, like, JJ or whatever. There's a girl equivalency of that,
me.
Jena Bishop.
No, but that is something I feel like I have to explain to people all the time because they assume that I'm a lot lighter than I am, and I'm just like, I'm just dense. Like, I don't know, like, she thick. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
thick where I like it, and that's that's the point that I want to make here. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but like people will think that, and I'm like, no, like, because they're like, oh, you could fight 115. You could make that weight class, and I'm like, I mean, in theory, yes, but I might kill myself getting there.
Yeah, you're gonna look like
I'm not. It's not gonna. That kind of a cut would be not an advantage to me.
Yeah, you would. I mean, you'd look like something was wrong with you. Your neck could be all thin. Your head would look all big. I wouldn't be into it. No, but
that's what we base our decisions on my weight class on.
I'm adamantly against straw weight. No, but in all seriousness, there's definitely a point of diminishing return, and I think diminishing.
Okay, you said it weird.
Dominican machine return. Dominican machine return.
Okay. Anyway.
No, I mean, it's obvious, and I saw it firsthand, like it being me, and then I saw it with a lot of other people in jiu-jitsu where you weigh in and then you compete or perform the same day.
Especially on in like jiu-jitsu where you have to weigh in and then go compete immediately.
Yeah. And I think that's one of those things where it's like you're better off not quote unquote cutting any weight, like dieting down, getting really close. And if you have like a pound that you have to, like, you can manage a pound.
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I mean?
easy.
That's not really cutting.
You could sweat out a pound just warming up.
Yeah, I mean, it's both a mixture of sweat, eating really clean, so you're just not retaining any extra water, like all that kind of stuff. So it does make me wonder if there really is a difference in terms of the advantage for size. And bless you as you have a sneezing fit.
Sneezing fit. Sorry, I told you I was not feeling my best.
She allergic to being sick.
To sickness. Allergic to viruses.
So the thing is like, I wonder about if there really is anything inherently different between the sexes as it relates to the advantage you get from bigger or smaller, you know?
I don't think so. I don't think it's different because of sex, because it'd be different if it was cross sexes.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, yeah, I agree with you there.
mixed together. Yeah. It's a bigger difference for me to fight a guy that cuts to 125 isn't necessarily the same as me cutting to 125.
Yeah, that's totally true. I agree with you there. And there's probably some science there too. I don't want it to be a thing that we talk about, so I'm not gonna go deeper there. But
I will fight a guy.
Jake Paul specifically. Jake, you're on notice.
No.
He's gonna fight Tyron Woodley, representing St. Louis.
Yeah.
You know that the odds on that were plus 110 Woodley, meaning like
he was the favorite.
Just barely. Just barely.
Yeah.
If you want some free money, I mean.
Yeah, I think Tyron knocks him out. We're recording this like right before the fight. So.
No. You're thinking Logan Paul Mayweather.
Oh yeah,
I'm talking about Jake Paul Woodley.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Jake Paul Woodley. I forgot that.
But you know what? That's interesting because we were just talking about differences in like weight class or whatever. And Logan Paul's weighing in like 34 pounds heavier than Floyd Mayweather. To me, I just haven't been paying attention to this.
But isn't that the same thing with Jake Paul and Ben Askren? He was way bigger too. It's like
he was bigger,
but it's different
not
because
like,
this one's a sanctioned thing. It's not just an exhibition.
I think Jake Paul weighed in like maybe 10 to 15 pounds heavier than Askren.
Yeah.
So it's not.
But Askren was like clearly just obese.
Yeah, out of shape, and Paul was in shape. But they didn't look. I didn't look at them and be like, "You guys are just different sizes." But when Mayweather and Logan squared off,
because Logan's so much taller.
Yeah, and just. And like he's big, he's jacked. Looks like he works out all the time. Great shape.
Yeah.
But I looked at it and I was like, man, the athletic commission sanctioned this?
Yeah.
Like for a billion reasons. Like Paul's never had a fight or never had like a legitimate like fight against another pro boxer. He's gonna fight Floyd Mayweather. So they commissioned that. And then they're like, cool, you're going to be 35 pounds heavier?
Let's not act like boxing's not one of the most corrupt sports ever.
Yeah.
It's notoriously corrupt.
I mean, it's weird that we're in a space now where it's like I feel like MMA is less corrupt and less shady than boxing. That's not to give like MMA this like gold star for doing a great job, but like you look at it now and it's like the UFC by being dominant in the space for all the downsides of a monopoly or whatever. I'm not saying that they are a monopoly or whatever. Like hopefully you get to be a part of that thing someday. But yeah, the thing is like they have like sort of gotten like good with the athletic commissions, making sure that they have like good standards and then also self-regulating in cases where they have to do that. Meanwhile, boxing, it's like if this thing goes to decision, you know, it's like better know what mob bosses the judges are in debt to or whatever.
Yeah. How long has it been that way?
Boxing has been bad for, a really long time.
Ever since.
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't known it as a legitimate thing. And that's why, like, there's, like, 4 people that can make money in boxing and then no one else.
I feel like for the last couple years, there's been at least one super high-profile boxing match that was, like, a draw or, like, a split decision in favor of the person that clearly lost or whatever that's happened that, like, literally everybody is, like, scratching their heads at. But that's what sucks about combat sports. Like, even in MMA, it's like there's so little accountability and everyone forgets. You know, it's like the worst decision you've ever seen in your entire life. The rest of the card moves on. Like, people complain, you know, whatever.
You're going to complain about it, but then like, that person, that athlete has to live with that loss.
Yep.
And, like, it'll affect the I guess, the outcome of the rest of their career.
Yep.
Meanwhile, the fans move on and nobody ever remembers
the fans
much
totally
they got
move
robbed.
on. And even the promoters, like matchmaker, might
well,
be
the matchmaker doesn't care.
Yeah, it's like,
your record is this, and like
exactly,
you know, they'll use it.
You move down, they move up. Like, there's, even if we disagree with the decision, like this is the business.
Because they're not gonna risk like their dollars on it.
Yeah, and that does really suck. That is one of the biggest downsides of the athletic commissions governing a lot of this. And
but same thing happens in all sports. I think, like, even in jiu-jitsu, like, how many times have I had like gotten robbed by judges because it's like corrupt? But then like you have fixing games in the NFL, and you have all these other, I don't know.
Do you think they're fixing games in the NFL in 2021?
I have no clue. I didn't watch any football last year because The Rams.
Because they kneel for the national anthem. No,
oh my God! Do not say that. No. No. Because we're mad at the Rams and the NFL is corrupt.
Yeah. And, you know, this is one of those things where it's like, I feel like the UFC is actually in prime position to fix this problem. Because even though they are somewhat subject to the athletic commissions, there are states and there are places where you don't have to really worry so much about an athletic commission. So you could go and do your own thing and establish your own standards. I understand the risks of that, and then also the potential, like, competitive fairness elements of it. But what I mean is like a state like Alabama, for example, if you had like reform that you wanted to implement from an MMA perspective, that state athletic commission would love to work with you on it. Florida, I mean, at this day and age where Florida's at, I'm sure Florida would be willing to be like, yeah, sure, UFC big business, come in here, help figure out what we want our athletic commission to do with MMA, and they'd be susceptible to that message, and like, I don't know. To me, I think that that's a fixable problem.
Yeah, I agree.
I came up with that on the spot, so if anybody wants to like take that and run with it, like, I get all the credit. We'll find out if you're a podcast
you get
listener.
No credit,
and I'll know. No, but I do find it to be kind of interesting, just that aspect of combat sports, especially right now, the Logan Paul, the Jake Paul thing. We were talking about earlier today, like combat sports, like combat jiu-jitsu worlds was today. Yeah. And a couple of weeks ago we talked about. I'm gonna
sneeze again.
Uh-oh.
It's coming, but just keep going.
Okay. I feel like it's hard whenever you know that, but
okay, I think it's past.
Okay. In the podcast world, it's like, oh my gosh, you gonna sneeze or not? But no, like with even Gordon Ryan's claiming, you know, like he's the best, and we talked about last week about the no gi versus gi. But I just feel like there's so many different kinds of competition now in fighing, and everybody wants to fight by their rules. You know, like Jake Paul, Ben Askren.
Everybody's gonna find out like their strengths and gonna want to fight under those rules because it's the nature of being competitive. But I think there's too many things that are getting too cute.
Yeah.
You know?
Like even these boxing matches, like the Paul Mayweather one, it's like they're doing a shorter amount of rounds and shorter rounds in general or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's picking their rules to like fit whatever the spectacle is. And I don't like that. I still feel that no matter what, at this day and age, despite the rules and the conflicts, whatever, MMA is still probably the purest expression of like everything on the table. Like who's a better fighter?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Just fighting in general because it encompasses all of it.
Like you could take self-defense and you could be like two people self-defense, like jeans and a t-shirt or whatever. But like that's a really hard competition, quote unquote, to have, you know?
I mean, that's just MMA. But self-defense, that wouldn't make sense because you would have to have an attacker and a defender.
That's what I mean. It's like when people want to get into like practical applications of like, well, mixed martial arts still it's not the same as the street. It's like, yeah, the street has a billion variables to where, like you just said, where it's like if you want to have a fair competition, what you need to do is create a scenario in which for like an hour and a half, some guy's just like walking around and you never know when the other guy's popping in, you know? In fact, like let's cut this part out. This is a business idea.
Yeah.
This is the thing.
We starting something.
Rando Fight League. RFL.
Yep.
Ruffles.
No.
I will get a U from someplace.
No, you're doing too much. As per usual.
But yeah, I mean, like, I didn't like the movement a long time ago in jiu-jitsu where it was like self-defense versus competition jiu-jitsu, because I'm of the mind that like if I wanted to, somebody never trained before, if we get in a fight, like I might throw a berimbolo in just to prove it can happen. You're telling me I couldn't? Like I do it to black belts that don't want me to do it. You think dude that's never fought before in his life is gonna stop me from berimboloing him? I doubt it.
I don't think so, and I do like hope that this happens at some point.
Yeah.
Like, if I might try and get, like, guess robbed just so I can be like...
Jenna's just going to start getting mouthy with random people.
Just start...
She's like, don't look at my butt. And they're like, sorry, ma'am, I wasn't. And she's like, who are you calling ma'am? I'm not that old. You're older than me. And they're like, I don't want any trouble. And she's like, well, you found trouble. My man don't like it when people look at my butt. And I'm like, I'm fine. Like, it's
I don't
fine.
really like
just
this
move on.
version of me you've created.
And then you're just going to scream like, he spit on me. He spit on me. And I'm going to be like, I didn't see it. But like now I'm going to have to, sorry, man. Like,
and then you barrel somebody in the street.
Yeah.
Just saying. That's how it happens.
And be like, you're not reacting right. You're laying flat.
I don't want to mount you.
Do a crunch. But yeah, I don't like the shift, I guess, in this. I think, I don't know. I feel like I'm old because I relate everything else to like the culture and like the new generation. But I do feel like there's a certain amount of like people wanting to choose the game that they play and then call themselves a winner.
Yeah, because people don't want to work hard anymore. Like they don't I think social media has made it to where like you can be famous like by like certain standards now without having to actually do anything. You know, like a lot of people who have gotten like big on like these kinds of platforms, they're not doing anything innovative or creative. It just so happens that they caught the eye of certain people like at a time that was convenient. And so I think people, especially like they see that happening and then they just they think that they've earned something by having this fake fame. Yeah. And now they think that they're entitled to like just like doing all these other things. And like I wanted this by playing by my rules, so like I'm just gonna keep playing by my rules.
Totally. And I think you know, I will credit the IBJJF for adding heel hooks to their no-gi black belt adult divisions.
Finally.
Yeah, it's about time. But it's one of those things too where it's like I read about this the other day and I thought, man, it's so applicable to jiu-jitsu, but it's beauty pageants. Like originally there was kind of just like a handful of like beauty pageants, and then, you know, as you would expect with something like that, people felt like judges were biased. It's a very subjective form of judging, right? So all of a sudden, next thing you know, there's like hundreds of beauty pageants because everybody's like, well, we'll start our own, you know, and like have the one that we have. And I feel like that sort of started to happen with jiu-jitsu for a second, where the IBJJF made people so jaded because of decisions and obscure rules that seem to only benefit like certain types of like styles and stuff, that you got this like, you got the Eddie Bravo thing, which was like kind of the exact opposite in a lot of ways. And then I think you saw everybody in between be like, well, I hate the IBJJF, but I also don't like this overtime stuff. This seems dumb. Yeah. So we're going to try our own. And now there's no standard rule set in jiu-jitsu anymore. Like if somebody contacted you to do something, like they're not going to be like, they're going to have to tell you what the rules are. You're not just going to know.
Yeah, I'm not just going to know. That's so true. Yeah, because I think every different competition has some kind of variable in the rules. Like,
I mean, even MMA, like the universal rules are kind of different in some places.
Yeah, in PFL you can't throw elbows.
Mm-hmm. In Japan, I think one championship
you can like.
In Ryzen, you can still like soccer kick and stuff.
Yeah,
but I don't think you can throw elbows.
But I think you can throw knees from the ground.
Yeah, like
on
when
a
somebody's
ground
like,
opponent.
it's like the wrestler one where it's like you're sprawled, you can knee the guy in the freaking neck.
Yeah,
that's like the worst possible like ground strike. If you're gonna make something illegal, it should be like the guy that's sprawled out and the guy that's in turtle. Like you cannot throw a knee like downward towards the spine.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, it sounds dangerous.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's called Not Fighting because we don't really disagree very often, but this is one I think we really agree on. But I think the solution is just like you continue, if you're the leader in these spaces like the IBJJF or the UFC, like you have to fix what's wrong and not get complacent.
Yeah, I think that's important. Like adjusting to like the changes in the sport are really important to the rule set, and
because martial arts are still changing.
Yeah. I mean, jiu-jitsu has changed so much from the time that I started to now. Like, there's so much that's like the just techniques and the way that things are applied are different. Because for a long time, I thought like, yeah, like that's not new. Other people were doing it all the time, but now there's a lot of new. Like, there is really new. And
somebody will show you something. I think the
old guard would be like, that's not new. This so and so is doing it, and make up some name of somebody that like basically did like
And then
something sort of similar, but not the same.
Yeah, and then if you had that person show you, you'd be like, no, it's totally
It's
different.
very different. Yeah.
Because I feel like now I learn things in jiu-jitsu that are like modern iterations of something, to where I'm like, that's the exact opposite of what I've always learned is correct, and it seems like the exact thing you shouldn't do. And then you'll see like, oh yeah, but this is kind of cool. You can do this from here. But it like almost maybe builds on the back of some other new stuff too, where you're like, oh yeah, I see how these things connect.
Yeah.
But yeah, MMA I think is similar. Like when I first started training MMA over a decade ago, like if somebody told you they trained Taekwondo or like karate, you'd be like, yeah, okay, cool. So like, you know nothing. Like let's just get started, like pretending that you have zero applicable martial arts skills.
You have some kicks.
But you can, like, people use that as a base in some instances now, but there's definitely applicable techniques inside of that martial art, whereas it was sort of a joke when I started. Like, somebody did Taekwondo. It's like, all right, like, we're going to have to just forget all that, you know?
Yeah. But I think it was also, like, where we were at. Like, there wasn't people, like, doing, like, legitimate Taekwondo.
But you didn't have, at that time, like, Machida hadn't really broken out. Wonderboy Thompson wasn't really around. Like some of these things were around in kickboxing, but you were like in MMA, like there's a flaw in it. But it wasn't until somebody really was able to apply it with everything else that you really got to see the advantages of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I understand that.
I think the same thing is true in jiu-jitsu, where it's like I was just saying, you might not have agreed, but like that you might be like, well, that was wrong. That was the wrong thing to do. Now it's the right thing. But it's like, well, it's the wrong thing to do if you don't have all these other things around it. But once you do, just like karate, if you have these other things that support it, it can be really effective.
Yeah. I understand that. Sorry.
We hopefully have a podcast now that you can understand, now that we've got the audio fixed. Sorry for the couple episodes there that it was less than the best. But we do appreciate everyone listening to the show or watching on YouTube. If you have a chance to subscribe, download, leave a review, those things are awesome because they help us continue to just put the energy and effort that it requires to do the show. But I don't know, Jenna, you got anything else?
I don't. I just want to feel better.
Yeah, and hopefully you do. And we can, this is the time to strike. Flyweight's out there. She needs a fight. And at this point, I'm just calling you the LFA flyweight champion.
You can do whatever you want.
That's what I'm going to do. And you should too. All of our listeners out there. Hashtag LFA flyweight champion Champ Bishop. It's a longer hashtag.
No, it's too long. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You got to come up with something better.
Yep. You guys can maybe come up with something better using that. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening to another episode of
Not Fighting.